I will sing of your goodness. I will sing of your faithfulness. If anybody ever asks me why, I am the one who God has helped. I will sing of your goodness. I will sing of your faithfulness. If anybody ever asks me why, I am the one who God has helped. I will sing of the goodness. I will sing of the faithfulness. If anybody ever asks me why, I am the one who God has helped. I will sing of the goodness. Yes, I will sing of the faithfulness. If anybody ever asks me why, I am the one who God has said. I will sing. I will sing of the goodness. Yes, I will sing. I will sing of the faithfulness. If anybody ever asks me why, oh, I am the one who God has helped. I will sing of the goodness. Yes, I will sing. I will sing of the faithfulness. If anybody ever asks me why, I am the one who God has helped. Whenever I call on me, He always answers. Whenever I'm near, He's always there for me. Yeah. When it comes to my matter, Jesus gonna use me to play. He is so mindful of me. That's why I am testifying. Yeah. I'll sing of the good. I'll sing. I'll sing of the faithfulness. If anybody ever asks me why, I am the one who could have helped. I will sing of the goodness. I will sing of the faithfulness. If anybody ever asks me why, I am the one who could have helped. Jesus, you're so mindful of me. Omega.
Hello, and welcome to the Awesome Music Show. One more time, we go live with a very, very inspiring interview, and we'll be talking on the topic of finding true purpose. And we have a very special guest in studio with us. You know, most of my interviews are done virtually, but this time we're blessed to have a very, very special guest in studio with us, and we are going to be having a great time as we talk about such a powerful topic that many, many people around the world struggle with to this very day. So we hope that this interview will be a great one and you will be blessed and inspired by what we're going to be discussing. My name is Dayle, host of the Awesome Music Show. This is our third year doing this show, and we are blessed to be sharing this platform with you from all over the world. So wherever you're logging on from South Africa, USA, UAE, wherever you're logging on from, we are blessed to have you on the show today. You're hearing the sound of Michael Kenzie, a Nigerian who was my past guest on the show, and he's talking about the goodness of God, and he is also very, very proud to be a past guest on the show, and we are grateful to have his song being featured on the show today. So it's a great time to share with this broadcast, and we are grateful that you could join us. So whenever you're joining us, please just type in the chat where you're joining us from. So at least that will help us to see where you are coming from, and then we'll be grateful to have you share. If you have questions, if you have comments, feel free to drop them in the chat as well. And I'm sure our very, very able guests will be able to answer some of these questions and comments for you. All right, so today is a very special day. We had two follow-up interviews on Friday and Monday with some women from the USA and various parts of the Caribbean. And we were talking about the Caribbean Heritage Week and the various achievements of women in the Caribbean and in the diaspora. And we had another of them passing through yesterday for a follow-up interview part two. Today we go all the way to South Africa, and my special guest, she is a wife, she is a mother, she's a mentor, and also she believes in finding true purpose and living out your God-given purpose in life. I speak of no other person than my very special guest, MJ, and she is right here with us in studio. How are you doing? Welcome to the Awesome Music Studios.
Thank you very much. And hi, everyone.
Yes, yes.
Thank you for having me.
Right. All right. So I'm seeing Sister Mimi. Thank you so much for joining, Sister Mimi.
Hi,
It's really
Meeps.
good to have you always supporting the show and your family, and to all the members of Every Nation Ruwais, Every Nation Abu Dhabi, who just celebrated our 15th anniversary. I really, really congratulate you. So thank you so much for joining. All right. So we are in for a very big discussion, a very big topic that many people struggle with, and that's the topic of finding their true purpose, which is why sometimes people get confused, they get discouraged, because it can become so discouraging that they're trying, they're pushing so hard, and nothing seems to be working out very well. Thank you so much, Sister Mimi, for your comments and for dropping your comments in the chat. Shalewa Henry, all the way in Florida, thank you so much for joining as well. I know it's early for you, Shalewa, but thank you so much for supporting and for being on the show with us. All right, so MJ, in your estimation, what would you define purpose to be?
Uh, this question I've been asking myself the whole morning and trying to figure out of a good explanation
Yes.
for purpose. And really, what I could come up with was my definition of purpose is doing something and actually being fulfilled with it.
Wow. 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 I don't think you could get it any simpler than that, because it's really from what you said, living out what God has placed inside of you. And the thing that I think a lot of people are missing is that every single person who was put on earth was given a certain purpose, and
Yeah.
it's really important for us to find that purpose and live it out. And I'm sure before the end of the interview, we'll be able to touch on some of these topics. Diane Villa, Bernice Aqua, Carmen, thank you so much for joining.
Hi, ladies.
Yeah, also, Sister Kay, thank you so much for joining and for being a part of this broadcast. It's really happy to. It's a good feeling to have you on. In terms of that same purpose, though, a lot of people, after they find that purpose, what would be some of your, um, I would say, advice to them in terms of living out that purpose?
Look, first and foremost, I think that a purpose, everyone is born to have a purpose on this earth.
Yes,
But take it from this, I'm sorry, I'm going to go biblical.
that's fine.
That's just me.
Yeah.
Um, when Moses was born,
Mhm.
remember, he was not born and told that this is what you're going to be doing.
Right.
Remember, he was just left out in the river,
Hmm.
and fortunate, he lived as a prince. And then after that,
Yeah.
all these years that he's been growing up, then he only got to realize his purpose.
Wow.
So I feel that in this day and age, the mistake that we as human are doing is taking purpose and putting it together with monetary. Like it's
Hmm.
supposed to go hand in hand with
Yes.
money. So
Yeah.
that's where the difficult part is.
Right.
But I feel that each and every day you can live your life as beautiful as it comes and look at all the positives that
Hmm.
comes with it.
Right.
And in that, you pray each and every day that the Lord opens your ears, your eyes, and the mouth to say and hear and see what your purpose is supposed to be.
Wow.
Because you get to learn in all different stages what your purpose is.
Hmm.
As a girl, when I was growing up, I felt my purpose was to respect my mother and father.
Hmm.
And I did that. I did that.
Right.
And then in growing into adulthood, I found another purpose.
Hmm.
So there cannot be just one specific purpose
Wow.
and then we want to just live onto that.
Hmm.
Yeah.
I'm happy that you touched on that, because so many times people maybe stick to one thing. And I read in a book that every human being, or most human being, by the time they get to the age of 60, they change careers at least three times.
Yeah.
And I believe it really has to do with you finding your purpose. As you said, you're young, you might think, hey, this is my purpose. But the older you get, the more experience you get, more
You realize
exposed,
things.
you tend to find other things that you see as your purpose. And you touched on a very important point where it doesn't have to be one single thing.
Mm.
There are some people who just do one thing for the rest for since they were young, and they just continue all the way up until they die, and they just stick to that. That's fine. If you're comfortable, you find something that's your niche. And you mentioned a very important part too, where a lot of people think they have to tie their purpose to earning.
Yes.
Earning, they have to, if it's not something that they're going to be making money from, then I'm not going to do it. So tell us about your own experience in terms of finding your purpose and how you felt after discovering that about yourself.
Oh my God, that's a very broad
Yeah.
question. But I'm gonna say this. The first time I found out who I was,
Mm-hmm.
I think that was a beautiful discovery for me.
Right.
And I always have put pressures on myself, thinking that my purpose is supposed to be one specific thing, or I have to be like, at this age, I have to know exactly what
Mm-hmm.
my purpose was,
Right.
which it was misled by uh, the world or how the society would see a
Right.
purpose as being. But then I realized that I need to be happy in all aspects of life. Look, my purpose is to serve God
Yes.
and to serve God in all purpose of life.
Yes.
Meaning that if I'm a sister, I should have a purpose of being a sister. If I'm a mother, I should have a purpose. If I'm a wife, I should be able to have a purpose. And one of the what can I say? One thing that always touches my heart is the youth
Mm-hmm.
and them not being able to find or not being in a right state of mind to make decisions that's going to bring them a better outcome.
Right.
So I'm always just on that with um, everyone that's very younger to me. I've got a passion for to always just be talking and just making them realize that your principles should align with who you want to be
Mm-hmm.
in the near future.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow, that's powerful because young people tend to sometimes don't even know what they're about, know their purpose. They get confused, especially at a certain age. They want to be this, they want to be that, and then by 2 years' time, they don't know again, and that's it. So that means you have a passion for young people in terms of your
Too
your
much.
ministry, how you mentor them in your community. Tell us a little bit about maybe some of the lives you have touched throughout your time sharing your purpose.
Listen, when I was growing up, um, my dad passed away when I was 1 year, 6 months.
Wow.
So
Sorry to hear that.
I'm good with that.
Yeah.
I'm happy because, like, look at me. If it
Right.
wasn't because of him and he's serving his purpose, I would not be here, right?
Right,
Yeah.
right, right,
So
right.
everyone's got their own purpose.
Definitely.
So it was really hard growing up because all the people that were surrounding me had so much and we had so little.
Mm-hmm.
But my mom always made sure that I was the best in everything.
Oh, that's good.
So when I got to matric and then I graduated, go to tertiary,
Mm-hmm.
and then I realized that you know what, I need to cut off certain things and set my head straight.
Mm-hmm. Right.
Why so? Because if now I were to be involved in certain groups or do certain things, then my outcome is not going to be what I want.
Mm-hmm.
And I was fortunate that most of my friends, which Sylvia, Ponto,
Yeah.
Mashudu, Apiwe, Yvette,
Yeah.
all of you guys, and the ones that I didn't mention,
Yes.
and that they were still my friends from
School days.
primary
Right.
until now.
Mm-hmm.
And we eventually we always just found each other. And there were people that we had the same principles. So I've got this thing of keeping people that we've got the same principles so that
Yes.
we don't lose
Right. That's
on
true.
what the goal is. Our
Right.
goals might be different as a
Right.
group of friends,
Mm-hmm.
but the principles are aligned towards our goals. So I'm grateful for them, and then they've been there. So yeah, where was I? Was talking about how, okay, yeah.
Right.
And then when I graduated, that for me was the biggest goal ever, because in my family, in my dad's clan,
Hmm.
I was, in my generation, the first one to graduate.
Wow. So it's like breaking a generational cycle.
A generational
Yeah, yeah,
cycle.
that's great.
And on my 21st, I remember one of the guys who passed on, may soul rest in peace,
Hmm.
and Tate Gauta, when he said a speech, he said that, MJ, always make sure that whatever you do, people are always waving your flag.
Wow. Wow. That's important. Yeah.
So that for me was just always like, I need to do right
Hmm.
for myself, by myself, and to others. So that when people do talk about me, they actually waving their
Waving
flags.
the flags, right?
Yeah. And I was so proud. Oh my God, I didn't send her a link. I'm
Yeah.
so proud of my sister that just graduated.
Hmm.
Third one in the bag.
Yeah.
I'm very proud. Those are the things that make me happy, because
Right.
if all my youth sisters or youth brothers do something great, it says something about me.
Yes.
I don't have to be the one that's success has to be defined with all the people that are around you. If
Mhm.
they're successful, that means that you're doing
You're
something
doing
right.
something right,
Yeah.
right? And back home we have a saying that birds of a feather flock together.
Flock together.
Yeah. And you mentioned your circle of friends, and in defining your purpose, it's really important to have a certain circle of friends, because if it's not aligned, which you mentioned, you might be pursuing different things, but your principles and your focus is aligned, and that helps you to kind of cement what your purpose is. And that's really awesome, because you're really saying that whatever you're doing, you're seeing the fruitfulness of it in your younger siblings and
Yeah.
other people in your community. And that's really awesome, because your purpose should really impact other people.
Mm.
If it's just for you and you're the only one
Then,
benefit, then what's the purpose?
yes,
What's the use of it?
exactly.
So that's really good. And I'm happy that you mentioned that. Are there any challenges though that you face in terms of trying to live out that purpose? Are there any major challenges that you would highlight?
Look, every day is a challenge.
Yeah.
Every day is a great challenge. Um, I think back at home, one
Hmm.
of my greatest challenge was trying to always fit in.
Wow.
And fitting in means that there are some things that you need to do in order to fit in.
Hmm.
And if it doesn't align with you, that's where the problem is.
Yeah.
So that was just one of my biggest problems, was just always trying to fit in.
Hmm.
And I would force a friendship or a conversation with someone, which I know that our principles are not aligned.
Right.
And
Just to
then
try to feel the
yeah,
feeling of
and then I'll end
belonging.
up saying something very stupid. And then when I get home and I'm like, what was I saying?
Yeah. Yeah.
So I've realized that it's okay to be alone.
Hmm.
I don't, it doesn't mean that you must not like people, or you should hate people, or you should shed people away.
Hmm.
But it's actually okay being alone.
Right. Right.
And it's okay doing things that make you happy.
Hmm.
But again, it needs to also affect other
Other
people in a
people
good way.
in a good way. Right. Right. That's
So
good.
if it's affecting people in a good way, that means that you're doing something good.
Definitely.
But if it was, I'm saying that no, it's my purpose, and then I'm doing it and it only benefits me, then
Mhm.
yeah.
And that's true, because you mentioned a friend of yours, I think from school, who passed away at possibly a young age. And at least you can still remember something from what he said.
No,
And
it was not an old schoolmate. It was
yeah,
it was one of my elders,
okay,
back at home. Yeah.
okay, fine.
Yeah.
But he left something with you, though, that whatever you're doing, someone should be waving your flag. And that's really awesome, because sometimes when a person leaves this earth, you start to take stock of their lives. What have they contributed? What can you remember about them that really stands out. And that's really awesome that you could at least remember that. And you can use that in your pursuit of purpose and living out that God given purpose. And it's really good to have that. I know a lot of people who are confused as to what do I do? What do I do with my life? I'm at this stage. I don't know if I'm going to be turning left, turning right. What would you tell someone who possibly they're at a crossroad in terms of what they're trying to live out, but they're having some form of challenge? What would you be like one of your advice to them to say, hey, what could they do to make it a little bit better?
Look, I'm a very spiritual person,
Mm-hmm.
and I always tend to say that life does happen,
Yes.
and when life happens, you have to live within that moment. I love my days where it was dark
Mm-hmm.
and I literally have to sit there all by myself and actually cry
Mm-hmm.
and meditate and speak.
Yeah.
That's when my life now I find my purpose. Like in those dark times, those are the times that I enjoy most of the time.
Right.
So what I would say is that spiritually, what I do, I just close myself indoors and I speak to my father. I speak to my creator, and answers do come.
Yes.
Answers do come. There is always a light at the end of the tunnel.
That's
That's
awesome. Because why I asked the question is because yesterday, my guest on the show yesterday, she went through a very traumatic experience with her former husband.
mm,
And she spoke about being locked away in a room for about 7 hours, beaten, tortured. And she really thought she was going to die.
mm,
But she started speaking to God,
exactly.
putting his word back to him to say, hey, God, I had a life that was not, that was very colorful. And if I died during that time, then maybe I would have deserved it. But she said, she told God, I know I'm living for you. I know I'm living out my purpose. So why are you allowing this man to do these things to me? And she said, right in that moment was when God started, the man spat in her face.
Mm,
And she said that's when God started talking to her to say, he's not spitting at you literally, he's spitting in my face, meaning I'm about to do something.
in your life,
Eventually, she
yes.
was released and she was able to drive home and get the police involved and stuff like that. Now she's living out her purpose using that same story and other stories to help young women, young men. She's doing outreach ministries in our community on social media and different places. So it's really so important for people who know what they're about, know your purpose, to live in that purpose. Because
Yep.
the moment you start to get confused, you're out of line, you don't know what you're supposed to do, then that when it becomes problematic. I'd like you to share if you want to give a shout out to any of your friends online. I know Sister Mimi and the crew. Sister Mimi is doing the work behind the scenes, and that's really good. So any shout out you want to give to any of your friends online, and to your sister, you said she just graduated. I
Oh
guess
my
she'll watch
God.
this at some point. You can give a shout out to her as well.
Um. Oh, shout out to Sylvia. I love you very much, my friend. I miss you and I miss the kids. I miss our conversations. Ponto, shout out to you, bestie. I love you and I can't wait to see you guys. And then congratulations to you, Lerato. Like I am so in love with you. And I'm very proud of your graduation, Shay. I'm very proud. You give me goosebumps every time.
Wow, wow, that's
Yes.
awesome. That's
Those
awesome.
were one of the ladies that are just so powerful back at home.
Mm-hmm.
One day she was doing a radio interview and she said something that was so powerful.
Yeah.
Um, she said she was asked what I can't remember exactly what the question was,
Mm-hmm.
but her answer to this question said that she's driving in her own lane.
Mm-hmm.
So people should not get confused of my
Lane.
mate is
Yeah.
this far ahead in life and she's already what found their purpose and
Mm-hmm.
whatsoever. But staying in your lane and figuring out
Wow.
with your God where are you and where you should be.
That's
So
so
if
cool.
it's on 160 speed and
Mm-hmm.
you driving 80, eventually you're gonna get to the same
Yeah.
destination.
Yeah.
But
Just
in
different
your own
times.
pace.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's awesome because a lot of people they tend to watch their counterparts. Yeah, I mean, we graduated at the same time. Now he's driving a Mercedes. He lives in a fancy house, and here I am still going to school or still going to maybe university. I know that can be a very difficult situation, but you mentioned something very important: stay in your lane. Everybody's lane is different.
Yes, people should
Everybody's
understand that.
speed is different, and the moment you understand that, then it can be very, very great for you. I'd love to ask you though, before we end the interview, a little bit about your experience as a South African in the UAE, because I know a lot of women maybe think, hey, they want to transition, but a lot of people are afraid of change. They're afraid of a new environment. They're afraid of a new customs, new laws and stuff like that. But in brief, what was your experience like, though? I mean, as a South African in UAE.
Uh, One thing about me is that, which I've learned,
Mm-hmm.
is that I'm not afraid of a challenge. I'm not afraid of a new thing.
Mm-hmm.
So many people of us are very different. But I would say that it was a good experience
Mm-hmm.
because, oh, the other day I was talking to Kay and I told her that me coming to the UAE was basically my foundation
Mm-hmm.
with my spiritual growth
Wow, that's good.
journey.
That's good.
Because I've realized things and things happened within me to me when I was in this place.
Mm-hmm.
So for me, it wasn't that much of difficulty because I had my South African friends,
Mm-hmm.
which are people that worked with the wives of the people that work with my husband.
Right.
So they had my back, and each and every day was just a new challenge on its own.
Mm-hmm.
The weather was also a challenge. The language was also a
Yeah.
challenge. But I swear that in a couple of months, I was happy
Mm-hmm.
and I was brave. I was excelling in being who I am and
Yes.
finding my confidence back again.
Mm-hmm.
Like, yeah,
Right.
that's for me,
Right,
my
because
experience.
moving from your country to here
Mm.
would be a kind of displacement for a while. I guess most people go through that, but I'm happy that you said you were confident and you are not afraid of a challenge, which a lot of people they're scared. Like people would ask me from time to time, what is it like living in the UAE? Can I do this? Can I do that? And I know it's something that a lot of people fear before they make a transition, and that's really good.
I
So,
guess again,
mhm,
sorry, back at home, it was just a lot.
mhm.
That's why I said that spiritually, this is where I found my foundation.
Oh, that's good. That's good.
Because at home, it was everyone, everyone, everyone. So it was very hard for me to find my confidence when everyone is just clouding me.
Right, right.
Everyone is just around me, and it felt very comfortable.
Mhm.
And I did not really reach out within me to find something because I was just comfortable. Everyone
Right.
was just there. Emotionally, everyone was just there. Physically, everybody, mentally, everybody was just there. So I needed a situation where it broke away from the comfortable
Right.
and then being in a place where, look,
You could
the Bible
concentrate.
even promises us that I'll give you a land which your ancestors doesn't know of.
Mhm.
And I
Wow.
felt that this was in it, and the way I understand it, it was like in a desert where
Mhm.
there's absolutely nothing,
Right.
but you get something within there. You
Right.
get that was for me this
Right.
place.
That's good.
Yeah.
That's good. So it's as if God brought you out of the crowd, out of the family situation,
Yeah.
everything, brought you to a place where He could minister to you. And I'm happy that your spiritual life was enriched. And I'm sure there are many people, especially some online, who was instrumental in that as well. Sister Mimi and the team. I want to use this opportunity to just thank every single person, the CG leaders, and all those who are joining from every nation. Thank you so much for joining and for sharing. Marlon Samuels from Trinidad is on Sun Cleaners. Dry Clean also. Thank you so much for joining. And for all those who have been on, this is not one of our regular shows, but we're happy that we could have gone live to share about finding purpose. And there's some real nuggets that we heard from MJ today. Stay in your lane. If there's nothing you remember from the entire broadcast, stay in your lane and make sure that when you live your life, someone is waving your flag. It's too many of us have people saying too many bad things about us,
Yeah.
and nobody is waving that flag for us. So that's really good. And it's all you have heard her also talk about not being afraid to take on a challenge, not being afraid of change, not being afraid of stepping out into that God-given purpose that you were all born for. And I'm hoping that you have gotten something from the broadcast. This is not going to be one of our long broadcasts because our guest, she has so many things on her plate for today, and I want to wish you all the best, MJ. If you have anything more that you want to share before we go off the live, you can feel free to share that with us as well. And then we will go from the live today. And it's really a pleasure sharing the platform with you. I'm hoping others of your friends from South Africa can join us virtually. And if they're ever in the UAE, they are more than happy to become a part of our studio audience. So
I think from
yeah.
this show, I think they would want it because they are a talker and they're so deep. Those people
That's
can
fine.
talk for days and they're so deep and they're so full of love.
Mm-hmm. That's good.
So I think one day we'll just do a live when
Mm-hmm.
we're back in South Africa and
Yes.
we'll have a good one.
That's good. That's good. That's good. Sister Mimi and the crew, thank you so much for all those who are joining. Kimberly and the family, thank you so much for joining. Sister K, all those who are on. If I didn't call your name, my sister from Jamaica, Fluffy Kira, thank you so much for joining. And for all those who are on, Sister Carmen and the family, thank you so much. If I didn't call your name, you know that we still appreciate you being on the live. And today's topic is finding your purpose. And I'm sure from MJ's presentation today and her testimony, you would have gotten a clearer picture on what your purpose is. And never be afraid to live out your purpose. And there are helpers along the way to help you to make that purpose become a reality. So I'm really grateful that you could have joined us. I'm going to be ending the show with a song that we started with, and that's a song from Michael Kenzie, Helped by God, and that's a song. He's a Nigerian, one of my former guests on the show. So we're going to just be ending the show with that song, Helped by God. And please feel free to share this live with your family and your friends. Some people, especially in the Western world, might be sleeping still, but guess what? We are grateful that we could join from the UAE. So this is the song that we all today. All right. So we had MJ in our studio, and she talked about her purpose. And even at a young age, she was helped by so many different persons in the community. Her circle of friends that she had from all age school, or we call primary school, and they kept that bond together so that they can still be friends today and share the same common interests and the same principles. So as we go from the show, just take it easy. My name is Dayle T. Today is another awesome day given to us by an awesome God to do some awesome things. It's a pleasure having you in the studio. Thank you so much.
I will sing of your faithfulness. If anybody ever asks me why, I am the one who got the sand.
Sir Richie, blessings to you, sir. Brother Richard. Also, Shalewa, thank you so much for joining from Florida.
I will sing of your goodness. Yes, I will sing of your faithfulness. Anybody ever asks me why? Oh, I am the one who God has helped. I will sing of your goodness. Yes, I will sing of your faithfulness.
There's so many names, I can't even call some of these names, but Lindy. Okay.
Nombumelelo Sishangi. She was also here with us.
Okay, okay, great, 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 great. All right, forgive me, guys. Some of these names I can't call them, but happy for Sister MJ who you're able to do that. Sister Rovi, thank you so much. Also, Sister G, thank you so much. All those who join on the platform today, thank you so much for supporting the Awesome Music Show.
I'll sing of the faithfulness. Did anybody ever ask me why? I am the one who could have done. I will sing of the goodness. I will sing of the faithfulness. Did anybody ever ask me why? I am the one who could have done. Jesus, you're so mindful of me. Omega.
So we go live again on Friday, 12 midday Jamaica time, or usual time, 9 p.m. UAE time, for another awesome music spotlight. And we'll be having a very special guest on the show with us this Friday. So please stay tuned to our channel. Please like, share, subscribe to my channel, my YouTube channel. You know that we are growing. We're a growing channel. So guess what? Times to come, you will see our screen on a much bigger platform as we continue to grow on this platform. So see you on Friday. My name is Dayle T, and my guest in studio today was MJ from South Africa. Thank you so much for being my guest in studio. All right, bye everyone on Instagram, Facebook, and YouTube. It's a pleasure being here on the Awesome Music Show. Take care and God bless. All right, see you on Friday, everybody, on the YouTube platform. Take care.